Well, you had a big event last night that you helped present. Did everything go as planned?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything went well. Just to kind of start it off from the beginning, obviously we had the Kickstarter going, and I was trying to just find a way to give it a nice push and just raise awareness for it. And luckily, I'm blessed with a great network of very talented and well-known friends.
Sure.
So, we put the whole thing together within a matter of days. It wasn't a planned thing. I just made a couple of phone calls, and the village came together. And for the most part, everything went well. The only hiccup that we had was, Ninth Wonder didn't realize that it was going to be based on Twitch. He normally plays on Instagram Live. So when he hadn't checked in for sound check, I called, as we're about to start, and I called him like, "Hey, bro, you haven't sound checked or anything, what's happening?" So he was under the impression that he was going to be playing on Instagram Live, so he didn't think he needed to do a sound check. So by the time we tried to pull it together to set him up to broadcast to Twitch and to Facebook, it was too little too late. But the beautiful thing about it was, it was a twofold thing. For one, Scratch Bastard was from Canada, was in the comment section. He was watching the event from home, and he's commenting. So he sees what's going on, and that Ninth's not going to be able to make it. So he ends up volunteering, and we're all set up to stream from home now. Right. So it's just really a couple of clicks. You jump in, you're on stage. So he took Ninth's place, did his whole set, and the show went off great. He gave an amazing performance. And then the great thing is, as the show was winding down, I get a text message from Ninth Wonder saying, "Where do I send this money?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Where do I send the money?" And what I didn't realize is what he had done was, in lieu of not being able to perform on our stage, he jumped on his Instagram Live and did his own fundraise. And he put our hashtag as his pinned comment. Put a donate. He set up a Cash App to donate and put the Cash App in the comments, and basically had his own show for us on his platform. So it all worked out. We got an extra amazing performance at a Scratch Bastard, and Ninth actually came through and went above and beyond. And that was greatly appreciated because he didn't have to do that.
That sounds great. Aside from those technical hiccups, do you have plans to do a second event? And feel free to say, "No, man, that was great. We don't need to do that again."
I don't know. I am going to restream the one from last night before it's all said and done. I mean, we only have, the Kickstarter ends, I believe, on this coming Friday.
Sure.
So whatever happens has to happen before Friday. So I'm definitely going to restream last night's event. Beyond that, I toyed with the idea of trying to do another one. I thought, to be honest, I actually initially thought we had another week, so I was going to try and do a part 2. But I think, with the amount of production that went into last night, in terms of having a full-on stage, and all the stage work and everything that goes into it, I think it might be easier to do a part 2 on a smaller scale, where people are just going direct from their homes as opposed to going from their homes to the stage and then out to the world. So I'm kicking around a few ideas because a couple of DJs that I know had hit me like, "Yo, this looks amazing. If you're gonna do it again, please hit me." So there could be something else in the works. I'm not being coy. I just haven't put it together yet.
Right.
So I'm kind of just finally, after you have the mad rush of doing something like what we did last night, you need that come down time. So now that I've come down from that, I can start figuring out what the next move is going to be, because we only have a week to make it happen.
Well, on to you here. You have had such an incredible, unprecedented career as a producer and all around the kind of guy that just unites people. Was the first cut that you had Harlem World?
On a major level, yes. Before that, there was local things that I had done, but the first commercially available, or the first commercially released, I should say, record I did was Harlem World. Yeah.
And when did you realize in your career that you were going to be able to subsist or live or exist or have this long career just producing for other people?
I couldn't tell you because I'm still trying to figure that out. Um, I'm being honest. I tend to approach everything day by day.
Yeah.
Because with the way this business moves, you can be here today and gone tomorrow. I am blessed that I am still here, going on 20 years now.
Yeah. More than 20 years, man.
I was about to say just over 20 years at this
Yeah.
point now. It's, I will say one turning point. When I did the Harlem World record, I still had a day job. I was working at a recording studio. And from that record, you get one hit record, people are coming to you for the next one and the next one and the next one. And for the first, I don't know, year and a half or so after that record, maybe even 2 years, I still had a day job at the studio. And one day my boss called me into the studio and he was like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm working on X, Y, and Z." He's like, No. Why are you here? Like, you've done it. You've made it. Why are you here? And I'm like, well, to be honest, the first of the month comes whether you like it or not, and the rent is always going to be due. And he's like, I get that, but, you went from working here to becoming our second or third biggest client, and you still work here, and the work you're doing here is hurting your progress outside. And to be honest, the work you're doing outside, it's not hurting your progress here, but it's taking you longer to get your work done here. So he kind of basically forced me to leave the nest, and put me up. But, had he not done that, things might not have progressed the way they did.
Right. Was that the same studio that John Bon Jovi was the studio manager at?
No, I don't know anything about that. John Bon Jovi was...
Yeah, before he made it, when Runaway, which was his first hit, it won contest.
No, I think you might be mixing up two different things. This was a studio called The Cutting Room.
Yeah, I know Bon Jovi recorded there. I don't know if he was the studio manager at
No, he wasn't. Yeah, now the manager, he never had anything to do with managing the place. No, I think that that might have been some irresponsible reporting on the internet.
No, I'm going to take you to court on that one. John Bon Jovi.
I was pretty much at The Cutting Room since the beginning. Unless somebody from the Bon Jovi family came in much later, The Cutting Room was built in 1997.
I'm going to put this into the Google machine. It probably wasn't that studio, but let's see which studio he was the studio manager in. Where
I'm curious to know, 'cause I never knew that about him.
Can we find that in 2 seconds here? We'll see what Wikipedia says. Right, cool. You might find it before me.
Cool. I got a little bit of time.
Because the bottom line is, you follow the track of the hardest working guy gets a little bit of success, and that leads to more success. And then he basically gets the career that he deserved. And you could say the same thing. Okay. Bon Jovi was at Power Station Studios.
I vaguely remember the name Power Station. That's an older place.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that name. I've never been there. Like, I don't know much about it, but I do remember that name. But yeah, it's a similar path. And, you hear so many stories of, like, say, for example, like Angie Martinez, the legend, she's a living legendary radio host. She started out as an intern at the radio station. Yeah. Kevin Lyles, who ended up running Def Jam for many years, he used to wash cars for the executives. He was the dude who would do anything just to advance. So if that meant washing somebody's car as an intern, he did it. But you fast forward, 10, 15 years later, he runs the company. And I come from probably the last, I guess you would call it like the last golden era, or maybe the bronze era of New York recording studios. Like, I feel like the golden era of New York studios was probably...
It's probably the Hit Factory and all that, the late 70s.
Hit Factory era. But you know what? To be honest, actually, I think that probably was, like, the last hurrah was probably the golden era, where there were studios left and right. You couldn't walk down the street at one point in Manhattan without here's Quad, here's Right Track, here's Right Track 2, here's Sound on Sound, here's Mirror Image, here's The Cutting Room, here's Battery. I could go on and on. You know, here's Room with a View. Here's Platinum Island.
Sure.
There was literally studios everywhere. And I was, around for the heyday of that era. And there were so many, there were so many, I say that to say, each studio had a full staff of interns.
Yeah.
I know because I was one of them, and we all knew each other because we all had to be in constant communication with each other. Because I got to get tapes from this studio to that studio. Somebody else has got to deliver tapes from here to here. Somebody else has to deliver a tape machine from this place to this place. So we all knew each other. And many of us were talented. It wasn't just me. You know, there were tons of us were talented. But very few went on to have long-term careers. And I say that to say it wasn't, for me, in my case, it wasn't necessarily about talent. That was there, but I wasn't the only talented one. I think for me, I knew how to position myself to take advantage of the position that I was, gifted with, in terms of my internship and later on my studio management position, And I think a lot of people waited for the things to fall into their lap. And I did it without being a salesman. Like, I don't like talking about myself, like, in terms of, hey, I can do this, I can do that. Right. I don't like being a salesman. So my thing was always just kind of like subtly, making sure my music got heard when certain people were around, But I also would spend 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the studio working as an employee. And then from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m., I was in the rooms working on my craft if there was a room available. But always leaving the door cracked and making sure that somebody heard something, and the hopes that one day somebody would open the door and be like, hey, what's this? And that's exactly what happened. And that's how the Harlem World Project happened. Mason, his management were working in one room. I made sure that my music was heard very loud to the point where they walked by the room and was like, yo, what's going on in here? A week later, I'm in the studio with him making records.
And the rest is kind of history. So 2 quick questions, and then you're a free man because you've been very generous of your time here. And as somebody who's recorded with, I'd argue, the most successful artists of pop and hip hop of the last 20 to 25 years, is there anything you haven't yet accomplished that you're still hoping to?
No, not really. To be honest, this is going to sound weird. I've never been goal driven. For me, it's always like just letting the next challenge find me, or stumbling upon the next challenge, or finding the next challenge and then choosing to take it on or not take it on.
Sure.
And I've been saying this a lot to people lately because it's been asked of me quite a few times over the past little while. And I always say, don't take my advice. It's good to have a plan. It's good to, look forward and list your goals out. I don't advise taking my path. It's just what's worked for me so far. I don't, it's not that I don't aspire to things, but my head is always in the middle of something, going from, the event that we put on last night. A couple of days before that, it was getting out files for 3 projects that I'm working on. It's just, I'm always in the middle of something, to the point where sometimes it's hard for me to figure out what I want to do next, or what I should do next. And I think, to be honest, most of the things that I would like to do next probably fall outside of the scope of music production. So, we have a few things on the table in the tech space, particularly in the video game space. That's about the most that I can say about that right now.
Right.
Because while the ink is dry, things haven't been announced. But that's kind of where I'm typically heading next. And I think in that world, I do have some things that I definitely want to do, more so than the music production stuff. The music production stuff, I think the reason why I've never really had a huge sweeping plan is because for me, it was always just a hobby. And, when you have a hobby, it's just something that you do in your spare time. So I just happened to have this hobby that I got good at and ended up making a living doing it. Sometimes I'm still like, damn, how did I get here again? And how did the 20 years go by so fast? So I'm just taking it day by day and taking things as they come.
As somebody who's read up on your history with tech and knows that you're a ringtone pioneer of sorts,
right.
I am really looking forward to seeing where all that goes, and
Cool.
I
Thank
will
you.
let it be a mystery and all that. So I'll ask the closer, and that's any last words for the kids?
Oh man. Any last words for the kids? This is gonna be cliche, but it's true. Do not give up on yourself. Do not let others deter your dream. At the same time, make sure that you are honest with yourself. Keep it real with yourself, or you might find yourself by yourself.
Oh, I get that reference right there. Great reference, man. Love your many years of music. Keep it up, and thanks for your time. Looking forward to seeing what's coming up, man.
No problem. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, boys. Take care.
Salute.